Many people get stuck with sugar. They make it too simplistic. Then they think the solution is to completely cut it out. And that is what they need to do indefinitely for the rest of their life. And what I came to understand was that abstinence is only one part of the journey. What can happen when there is a focus on not eating sugar is that it can become its own obsession, and in many ways its own addiction, where you've moved from obsessing about eating sugar to obsessing about being sugar-free. Stage one in your relationship with sugar is where it's a free-for-all and it's unconscious. Now, when you move into stage two, that's where there's this conscious undertaking to have a more conscious relationship with sugar. And for many people, that stage two entails some form of sugar detox or sugar abstinence. As you transition from stage two and you move into stage three, where it's like you've got a riverbank, and then all of a sudden the riverbank gets a little wider. That can be a very frightening proposition for people. If there's a sense of no sugar whatsoever, even though that might feel difficult and challenging, it's also very, very safe. Whereas if you open those riverbanks a little bit, and all of a sudden there is the possibility to eat sugar consciously, that can be very frightening and overwhelming to people. So as you move into stage three, where there's more freedom with sugar, all the emotions and experiences that come up, those are going to need to be addressed at that time, as well as the anxiety that can arise about even letting there be more freedom in the first place. And so in overcoming sugar addiction for life, what I talk about are 6 practices. Here are some tools that can help you during that stage as you're facing all the different needs that come up with sugar. And so when there's that focus on staying sugar-free, it can be a way to actually abort the deeper healing that is calling to you in the name of sugar. And that deeper healing, where it goes, is you go into stage 3, where there is levity, where you're learning about how to listen to your body, about what to eat. That's where you find out, oh, these are the kinds of foods that make my body feel really good. You start to learn, this amount of sugar my body can handle. This amount of sugar doesn't feel so good. And if you've watched a child learn how to walk or ride a bike, they fall a lot. And so there's all this falling, but it's okay. And while there isn't the judgment or the fear of judgment from eating sugar, in stage 3, there can also be, on the surface, it can look a little bit like stage 1, and that there might be some moments where you overdo it with sugar. As you move out of stage 3 into stage 4, what comes back is an integration where sugar is a part of your life, but you're also not reactive about moments of restriction or limit. You actually have a very healthy relationship with both limit as well as abundance and enjoyment. If you open to sugar as a teacher, as a benevolent and kind presence, then you can open to sugar and open to the journey, not from that frantic place of, I have to control how much sugar I eat, but from a place of growth. Overcoming sugar addiction for life brings those things up to the surface that are calling and speaking for your attention. As Dr. Mattei says, addiction is an attempt to solve a different problem. There were sorrows and things I had not grieved in my life. And absolutely, those are the things that live underneath sugar. And for many people, that's the most vulnerable part, because it is a lot easier to just say, I'm not going to eat birthday cake, than to look into the holes where there is unattended and unacknowledged and uninvited sorrow. Sugar is many ways, it's a prayer that says, please love me, please care for me, please hear me, please acknowledge me. And they're speaking on behalf of all those wounded and shamed and neglected and overlooked parts that live inside of us. After going through overcoming sugar addiction for life, for many people, what they experienced was that the unacknowledged and ungrieved sorrows, as well as the unmet needs that were driving them to sugar in the first place, they soften. And with that softening, there's no longer as much of that compulsive drive to eat sugar in the first place. And so there's a relief and there's a relaxation where people feel less anxious about sugar in general and more free. But above and beyond sugar, there's also just a sense of greater nurturing and a more compassionate relationship with the self. Because again, rather than trying to deny your needs or deny your emotions and use sugar to fill the gap, you're actually proactively finding ways to care for your sensitivity, to care for your emotional needs, to care for your physical needs, to care for your relational needs. So it's not about using willpower to try to control your cravings, but if you care for the unmet needs that are driving you towards sugar in the first place, then it's not a matter of trying to control them or white knuckle your way through them. You're actually draining and unwinding what's moving you towards the sugar. It's an emotional healing process, and that emotional healing is at the core of freedom from a sugar addiction.